I'd like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, May 5th, 2025. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perform roll call at this time. Councilor Benson.
Present.
Councilor Peterson.
Present.
Councilor DeWall.
Present.
Mayor Ward's also in attendance. Please let the minutes reflect Councilor Johnson is on an excused absence. Also in attendance is Attorney Hanka, Megan Mizuko, and Administrator Rich, along with Chief Elquist and Phil Larson. Looking for a motion to approve the pre-agenda meeting minutes from Monday, April 21st, 2025.
So moved.
Councilor Peterson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, April 21st, 2025. I'll go ahead and make that motion. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Councilor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present. The public comment suggestion period of the meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address the City Council. Once we move on from public comment suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but are not required to comment on or respond to any comments made by speakers. If you'd like to address the City Council during the public comment suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6268. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment suggestion period of the meeting? If so, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6268, and we'll give that about a minute.
Phil Larson, 702 First Avenue, Proctor. I was here 3.5 months ago, and I was here a year ago, and I was here 2 years ago, and 3 years ago. And it's still here. The blight. In one corner in particular, it hasn't changed a bit. You're not enforcing our code. We got trailers in the right of way. The building isn't sided yet. They got tires stacked up as high as you can stack them darn near. What's going on? Nobody give me an answer here? I mean, you're letting them, you're enabling them. You're letting them park on the sidewalks. The sidewalk's destroyed. They're parking it. You let them park on the road all winter long. You're enabling them. You're not enforcing our codes or ordinances. Why are we not doing it? Sir, can you tell me?
Certainly something I could look into if the council wants me
We have the blight ordinance that was just given to council at the last meeting, and as soon as that gets released. But to Phil's point, it is a violation of city code that's already in place. So I guess Chief Gaddis would have to answer that, and unfortunately he's not here.
You know, it's smoke and mirrors every time I come here. You know,
Yeah, Phil, we've been dealing with this for 10 years.
But we're not dealing with it. We're enabling them.
We didn't deal with it 10 years ago.
It wasn't, blight wasn't on the agenda when I was mayor.
It sure was. My parents called down to City Hall regarding the same property 10 years ago,
Yeah, I mean,
and we enabled them then. So nothing has changed.
so why is that?
We're working on it right now.
We've been working on it for years.
Right, and the new ordinance that we were coming out with was conflicting with city code, and we got to make sure that they align together.
So what about the plain and simple ordinance of off-street parking in the winter?
I would agree with you, and like I said, that would be a question for Chief Gatus, and unfortunately, he's not at this meeting.
So what do you guys do? When you talk to Chief Gatus to ask him what's going on there, or instruct him what to do?
I guess,
To the council.
exactly, and I guess all I can tell you is we're dealing with it the same way it was dealt with 10 years ago. We're trying to get it handled, and that's where we're at.
So is it an impossible deed? We cannot achieve this, or what?
There's,
I got a tax board review meeting tomorrow. I pay a lot of taxes in this town. And what does that do for my property values?
what did it do? I don't
There's
know.
only 2 ways to leave my house, and one way I gotta look at that every day I leave.
I'm right there with you. I live about the same distance as you from the property in question.
So why can't we get it fixed? Why do we allow them, why do we enable them to do what they do? I mean, we got a $3.5 million public safety budget in this town, $1 million a mile, and the cops can't enforce no on-street parking in the winter?
I can say that they do, and that property owner contributes to the budget because he pays his tickets and he continues to offend.
It pays the ticket.
He pays the tickets and he continues to offend, just as he did 10 years ago. He's a perpetual, you can't fine him into compliance.
Is he paying the tickets, or are they being assessed to the tax?
They're paying the tickets.
Can we raise the price of the tickets, or, I mean, can we toll? We can't toll if you don't move, or, we got a trailer that's full of wood that I know is in the easement of the alleyway.
And I knew that was a conversation at our blight meetings when we were addressing this, as far as what the legal capacity of a city is to go on somebody's property and remove items. Because what we would consider someone's trash may not be trash.
Fire hazard, old tires,
Mhm.
no.
Mhm.
But, back to the parking. If they're on the road on the street parking in the winter, you can toll, can't you?
I would have to look at it. I'm
I
not
don't know if we've
positive.
ever towed there, I'd have to look into
Yeah.
it.
And then it costs a little more to get your vehicle back. Maybe that would sting a little bit more. They would do something more. They got off-road parking there. They got junk cars there that don't have no license plate on, but they're covered up so you can't see if there's a license plate on it or not. But it seems like there's nobody doing nothing about it. And that's not the only property. There's other properties.
Sure there is.
That's one that's scored me. Do something. Your meetings are down to 18 minutes per meeting now. Maybe you should stick around a little longer and figure out how you can fix these things.
That'd be nice. Should have thought of that 10 years ago. It might have been resolved by now, you know?
It should take 10 years.
You're right, it shouldn't have, but here we are. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. On the agenda, numbers 1 through 5, there was a typo. They should be asterisks, so we'll amend the consent agenda to reflect items 1 through 5. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I would like to pull 4D. This is a legal question, I guess. If we discussed it at the pre-agenda meeting, and it was just a directive to Administrator Rich, is that something we need to address at this meeting as well and formalize it?
I think you should, yes.
Okay. I would like to pull 4A.
Which one is that, 4A?
4A. And that would be it for me. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Do we have a second on that? No.
I'll second.
Okay, Counselor DeWall seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say, oh, Counselor Benson?
5A.
5A. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 4A, Department Head Attendance Schedule. In our pre-agenda meeting, I just made it noted that I would like to extend the invite to Andy Bruner of the liquor store to attend if he would like to. And with that being said, I'll make a motion to add that to the department head schedule. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Dwell. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 4D, Marketing Tourism Manager position. Just with the roles changing on that job position, I would suggest reaching out to the bargaining unit to make sure they're aware of the city's plan on what's happening with that. Just because I know there's been some job shuffling around.
Temporary.
Right,
Temporary.
right. So other than that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the memo for the Marketing Tourism Manager position.
So,
Counselor Benson seconded that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Me and Counselor Benson. It'll bring us to 5A, Unfinished Business, Blight Ordinance. Counselor Benson.
I was just wondering if there's a deadline to get all the comments back?
I think council's pretty eager to get a blight ordinance passed, so the sooner you get them to us, the sooner we can make revisions.
And then the revisions go to the attorney and then comes back to us?
Revision suggestions, yep, and then it would come back to you, and then we would have the whole ordinance adoption process to go through as well.
Thank you.
One question on that. You've already started reviewing some of the changes, or have they not been sent to the attorney? Because I know city staff had some
They have
concerns.
not sent back to the
Okay.
attorney. We were waiting for all of the comments to come together before we sent them back.
So I'll make a suggestion to council, if we get those in by Friday, that would be, if you had questions. It's only, I think, a 2-page ordinance, if I remember correctly, but 2 or 3. Okay, maybe 6, but it's an easy read.
236.
So, any other discussion on unfinished business?
Under blight ordinance A, I do have one question, which I know nobody wants to ask, but I'm going to ask it. Council's obligation is to set and adopt ordinances, and this is for legal. It's our police department's job and obligation to enforce ordinances. Does that fall under city council or police civil service commission when it comes to, because we can't just have any counselors telling a police officer to say willy-nilly, you need to do this. I know firsthand if that happens, which is the right thing to do sometimes, people get in trouble. So I would like some clarification. Is that our role? Because I know the roles separate. We're in charge of a budget. We're in charge of hiring and firing. There's certain lateral where police chief reports to our city administrator for management, but then there's also that lateral to the police civil service commission. So I have reviewed and I'm excited for the finished blight to come out because it does answer a few of your questions. A lot more harsh on a fine, which will set tone more than the expense of just towing something by 10. But I would like to understand that from a counselor's standpoint when it comes to that. Who's responsible for that? Because it might be a police civil service commission. Does that make sense, or am I making things complicated?
No, it does.
And I don't know if you can answer that today, but I would like to know. And
Right.
obviously, we spent a lot of time to fix and correct and to make sure apples and oranges are oranges on this. I want to make sure that it is perfectly clear. It's enforced by our police and who's supervising that.
Yeah, I think,
Council, or is it?
Council, I think I understand the question. I don't know that I'm ready to answer that tonight.
No.
So basically, question being, you know, who has the judgment as to when the ordinance is put into play, enforced, or is that basically what you're getting at?
Who can direct the police chief on,
Yeah,
or the police officers to enforce an ordinance that we set? Is it the civil service?
and whose ultimate determination is it that there's a violation or that it should go further than?
So Mike, I've read the Civil Service Commission bylaws. They're in place for the purpose of hiring, firing, demoting, and promoting. They're in the fire for that purpose. Their bylaws do not say anything about directing the chief or enforcing code. He works at the pleasure of you as far as enforcing.
That's what you're asking, correct, Counselor?
I can get you the bylaws if you'd like.
I just wanted a clear cut of who's responsible. I mean, we're responsible for putting ordinances in, and it's always okay.
Right.
What happens if this doesn't happen?
And if it's not being enforced, and whose judgment is it to enforce it? Yeah, I mean, there is a judgment rule there, you know, like somebody has to investigate a reported problem and then make a call that this is a violation. And we're
Well,
taking the next
And that's
step.
all spelled out in the ordinance,
Right.
right? Once that gets passed, that step will be addressed in there. As far as who goes out, finds the violations, lets a homeowner know. Okay, any other discussion on that?
Mayor, on
Counselor?
the, I guess I don't know, mine just disappeared, the blight ordinance, but Troy, you said that there was bigger fines in that. Do we set the fines for other issues, or does the police? I mean, when's the last time we looked at fines in the city and different things? And I mean, I'm not here to fine everybody, but also, like, it's great to clean up the city, and not just one property, but several other properties. I'm sure that could use a little boost to help get their things cleaned up a little more.
We did address that in our blight ordinance meeting, and they did increase substantially. And it's kind of a step, right? You get one violation, then if you get two, and then you get three, and the price goes up every time you hit a new step, so.
Great, thank you.
I think it'll correct, I don't know what the word administrator used, but the repeat offender. They're going to get, you know, we're not trying to kill everyone. We're just those repeat offenders that are just habitually, here's your money, thanks, here's your money, thanks. I believe that will address it.
So after the third violation, then it's, third violation and within 3 years, it's $1,000 fine each time they get it. So
That's substantial, and that will change some things, I think.
Any other discussion on 5A? Hearing none. We'll move on to 6A, School Resource Officer, 2025-2026 proposed draft. In your packet is a new contract for the Proctor Public Schools and the City of Proctor regarding a new, well, not a new SRO position for the 2025-2026 academic calendar year. As you can see, the price stayed the same. Hours went down to 11 per week. Looking for a motion to approve the SRO contract. I'll make a motion to approve for discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Peterson. Any discussion? I would just like to say, how difficult is this, to Councilor DeWall's point during the pre-agenda meeting? We have 4 officers on during the day because of this, is that correct? We have our sergeant, we have our chief, we have our typical road officer, and then we have an SRO.
I don't know that sergeant and chief are on at the same shift all the time.
He comes in at what, 1? Is it 1 o'clock?
2 to
2 o'clock?
6 to 6, 2 to 2, Chief is 8 to 5, somewhere in there. So at points of that day, we have 4 officers on, and assuming nobody's on vacation. Getting to your point, I'm just looking at the efficiency of scheduling.
Well, and that's where I was going with a 7-officer department. We were using 4 of them in that small window of time during the morning to midday. It doesn't leave much for the rest of the day and night to be scheduling, especially when an officer is off or on vacation or off sick or. And then letter H that's highlighted, grant the city of Proctor PD to enforce all parking on school property. Do we not do that already?
No, because it's private property, they need to have an agreement with the city for us to do that. And more specifically, it's looking at enforcing ADA spots, enforcing school zone spots, particularly the circle pickup, or if there's people parking in the school parking lot for pickup and they're not supposed to.
Okay.
If they're on their street, we can enforce it. If it's in their parking lots, we can't.
Oh, they're blocking the street.
I would assume if they're blocking a street, they could.
Well, Second Street and Quarter Street.
Oh, right, it's been ongoing issue for years.
As I feel like always between a rock and a hard spot, yes, I want them to be able to correct problems, to avoid problems with parking, but at the same token, I feel like we're not getting anywhere with the offset of expense of what it takes to provide that officer. Now we're adding parking duties. They used to have parking monitors at the school that would go out there. They'd hit them once in the early part of the season just to give them a warning. Hey, you need to, what is it, $40 these kids got to buy for parking pass to park in their parking lots. I just feel like it's the school kind of shifting more work to our officers, but yet I agree at event type things, they're hamstrung when they're, I'll just use the high school at a basketball or volleyball event, when Uggstead Circle, there are people parking right up on the sidewalk to the doors. It happens every event. So it's, but I don't know, I'm very torn because I feel like there could be some better, fully satisfied with what's before me.
Well, no, and neither am I. In 2019, I went to a school board meeting to push for getting an SRO in place. And since 2019, it's been this rate. Yeah, the hours may have changed a little bit here and there, but I think the SRO is a good program, but at the same time, at what expense do we keep funding it for? I think we heard from a resident today, we have other issues in our city that our officers should be out enforcing. And I get it's only 11 hours a week, but that's 11 hours that could make scheduling a heck of a lot easier for our department heads, so. And to Jake's point, during the pre-agenda meeting on negotiating at a different time, I think that was your point, no? I like that idea, you know? But go ahead.
This is for the 25-26 school year, I'm assuming?
Councilor Benson?
Under 1H, grant the city to enforce all parking on school property. Does that include on the other side of Uggstead Road?
If it's on school property, yes.
I know there's a motion and a second on the floor, but I guess my recommendation to council would be to maybe go back to the school and try and do something different here. And if they can't or don't want to, then city might need to look at a different route to utilize our officers to the best of our capacity. But there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Counselor Benson?
During the discussion with the school, was it mostly budget-driven on their end?
They were pretty clear in their meeting that they didn't have an additional funds.
I would use that same sentiment for us as well. We have budget. We have citizens complaining about parking, and now we're going to add all the school parking to our police, and they can't cover our 3x2.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Aye.
We'll do a roll call vote. Counselor Peterson?
Nay.
Counselor Benson?
Yes.
Counselor DeWall?
Nay.
Mayor Ward's a nay. Motion fails for lack of support. Is there anything council would like to address on that a second time?
I just think we need to have there was a lot of confusion over the last contract that I thought made sense, so I think we should have a clear direction moving forward for our legal and administrators so they know what the expectations, and I guess I would look at, we got to sit down and have a deeper conversation, and maybe at that point, one of us needs to go with that.
Good with that.
And I'm looking at perhaps, since we're delaying it, there's that possibility that 2142, the school district, St. Louis County School District, may be going after St. Louis County for them to go in and be the SRO. And of course, we're paying for the county sheriffs to be in their schools, as they have been in the last couple of years. And if it's important for the school district, maybe that's part of our legislative agenda, get the League of Minnesota Cities and the Association of School Boards together and get some additional funding, because the last time the state had funding for school safety, they threw in provisions at the last minute for wives of legislators who happen to be working for schools to get paid. We could tighten it up considerably.
So, Counselor DeWall, to your point, obviously we got time before the next school year starts to address this, right? You suggesting we have a work session with the chief and Administrator Rich regarding the SRO? Or we put it on for a future agenda item?
I'm just wondering, I mean, I'll look at our administrator, what she would like. I mean, would you like to take this message back to the school first and see if anything, or are you pretty certain that this is drawn the line?
Well, let's just put it this way, with the current administration, it was draw the line. One of you did mention in the pre-agenda meeting that administration is about to change. So if you'd like to give it some time, I feel like we as department heads took it as far as we can. That obviously we would put this in front of you if we felt that there was more room for negotiation. So I guess it depends on what administration you're talking to.
So am I hearing your recommendation that we do two things? We, A, wait for the new person in charge, and B, add a council member or negotiating team or however council deems and set up a meeting? Is that kind of what you're saying?
That would be helpful to us, yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Put that in the form of a motion?
Put that in a form of a motion to direct Administrator Rich to set up a future meeting with a designee from council to be appointed by council, with the new superintendent and new, I'm not good with titles, director of business, Steve Anderson's old job. Future meeting, get it on the books as soon as possible when the new superintendent takes over. That's my motion.
You heard the motion from Counselor DeWall. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Peterson. Any further discussion? Counselor Benson.
I'd like to make an amendment to that motion. You mentioned the new school superintendent. I would remove that piece and just keep it a future meeting.
Fair enough. Correct.
Yeah, I'll amend that for that.
Okay. Counselor DeWall amended his motion. Counselor Peterson amended his second. Any future or any further conversation? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Would council like to address a city councilor to sit on that future meeting?
I think we could wait. It's not going to be for another
2-3 months.
2 months anyway, right? Unless you would like to see it now.
I just prefer now so we don't lose track of it. Is there any volunteers? We'll start there. Don't everybody jump. No one has interest in sitting on it? Go ahead if you got something to say.
I will,
You want to sit on it?
since I got to retrieve on the last one.
I'll make a motion to seat Counselor DeWall at that next meeting. Is there a second for that motion? Counselor Benson seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6B, SLA SEH Proctor Trails Engineering Services. So in your packet was a supplemental letter of agreement between City of Proctor and SEH. This is for a trail crossing on engineering services for a trail crossing on Boundary. Initial fee of $20,000. Looking for a motion to approve the supplemental letter agreement.
So moved.
Councilor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Councilor Benson?
Thank you. With the new sales tax coming into effect, would the expense be covered through that?
Your current sales tax language has trails listed as an allowable expense.
So this would work. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6C, Harvest Church, 614 Second Street, street project assessment request. In your packet, there's a letter from Harvest Church disputing the Second Street assessment that was assessed to them. I also, earlier today, there was some email exchanges sent out from Attorney Verta or Attorney Hank, I can't recall which one, but explaining some of the answers to the questions. And then along with that, Administrator Rich also did send out League of Minnesota Cities policy assessments. And if anyone had a chance to look at that, there was some language on page 30 of that League of Minnesota Cities tax exempt properties, tax exemptions of the Minnesota Constitution, grants to religious, charitable, and educational institutions do not prevent special assessments against these types of property. So, the church is arguing that because they're tax exempt, that they should be exempt from our special assessment policy. I also had Administrator Rich send us our special assessment policy, and there's language in there as well. Private cemeteries, churches, hospitals, schools, and similar institutions must pay special assessments. Railroads are also not exempt from special assessments. So it's in our policy. It's in the League of Minnesota Cities website. And I don't know if Attorney Hanka would like to add anything to that.
Nothing really to
add, Mr. Mayor, but you are correct. The Minnesota Constitution, its Article 10, Section 1, provides that tax exempt organizations such as churches are not exempt from special assessments. That's where the authority is.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to move forward with the special assessments for the Harvest Church.
So moved.
Counselor Peterson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Go ahead. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Chief Elquist.
Sorry I didn't get here for the pre-agenda meeting, but I was out saving lives. I was gonna bring it up there, but you guys were already past it when I arrived. But I have a question about Harvest Church. Are we considering that place a church, or are we considered in a residence?
Well, it's a church, as far as the property details, parcel.
Well, we were called there. There's people living there.
Oh,
So it kind of changes our response if you get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning to a church versus if you're going there because there's residents living in there. It completely 100% changes our response of what we do. Just like we have a special response for Legends Bar because there's an apartment above it. It changes our whole operation of what we do. So one of the guys, which was very weird, of the guy that asked me that, I said, all I can do is ask.
yeah, I guess that's something we'd have to look into. I don't know how you go about that, but maybe Attorney Hanka or Administrator Rich can look into that, see if we can find out if it is a dwelling.
Oh,
And,
it's 100% it's a dwelling. I've been in there personally.
And
Two
what,
separate rooms that are being lived in around the clock.
Counselor Benson?
Is it 100% residents or?
Yes.
The whole entire building, he's asking, is that?
No, there's two separate rooms that are residence rooms. Like they're off of the chapel portion, I guess you'd call it. But there is two rooms that people are living in, 100% around the clock. The first memo that I received was occasionally there was going to be somebody there. And then we got called there for a medical purpose, and I was floored to what I saw.
Counselor DeWall?
Question, looking at previous history in our town that may help. We had the Bethlehem Lutheran Church, which was a separate structure on a parcel,
But it was the parsonage.
and then had a parsonage. So I would assume, I mean, this is kind of, I'll go as directed by legal, but if you're designating it as I'm assuming there's a reason why they had a separate building for a parsonage, and I'm assuming it had to do with taxes. Can you make a parsonage, they're designated as a livable dwelling? At that point, it was the reverend or the pastor that lived there with his family. So I just want to make sure we're not going to get into trouble by, unfortunately, we're going to have to dig into this, and I'm looking forward to what legal and administration has for advice, because I don't want to get into trouble where we have a church that is a designation, but now it's actually a dwelling. I don't want that on my conscience.
And I don't want it across the road here because, like I said, in the end, it changes what we do. So we're just looking for a little bit of direction also to know, is this how we're treating it?
Yeah, we'll have to look into it. And I get that you're saying 100%, but we got to make sure,
No,
you know.
I understand all the I's and T's and all that, but it's a concern over in our building, definitely. But like I said, I apologize for doing it now.
Nope.
Was trying to save some people's lives.
No, thank you for that, Chief. All right. That will bring us to 6D, 2025 WLSSD Wastewater Services Planning Grant. In your packet now is a Proctor Sanitary Trunk Main Capacity Analysis Project and Grant Agreement. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Counselor Benson made a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Now bring us to 6E, SLA-SEH, Proctor Sanitary Trunk Main Capacity Analysis. So in your packets, another supplemental letter of agreement between City of Proctor and SEH. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Counselor Peterson made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to members' concerns. Counselor Peterson.
All right, I got a few things. First, I want to thank the chief for inviting me to the fire hall. It was a great experience. I met a lot of great men and women that serve our area, and really impressed with what we got going there, and very happy that we have that in our small town. So that was first and foremost. Second, we're 97 days away from Hoghead. Best thing in Proctor here. Also, Letter Carriers Food Drive is next Saturday, so if you guys can help donate to that, it's a great cause. It helps families that are in need. I know we're all pinching right now, but if you could donate and unperishable food item or a few, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Counselor DeWall.
Nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to extend some congratulations to the Wounded Warrior hockey team. Proctor is their home rink. There's a number of Proctor residents along with Proctor graduates who's on the team, and they just won a national championship. So that's impressive. Matt Solber, who is a teacher in Proctor and coach of the girls football team, was the initial pick by the Minnesota Vikings for Coach of the Week. So that's also, I think, impressive. Wanted to thank Administrator Rich for the LCCMR grant that's got submitted. That's pretty exciting. Hermantown, interesting, also submitted their grant as well, $2.3 million for their trails. So that's, the big hearing is coming in June, mid-June, I believe. So wish the city well there. And the last little bit is that the president of the National VFW Auxiliary will be in Proctor in a few months. That's pretty exciting
Nice.
as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I just got a few items. Reminder, tomorrow, Local Board of Appeals equalization will be held here at 10 a.m. And reminder, brush pickup will begin May 19th. Residents need to get on the list by May 16th. And then to Counselor Peterson's comment on the food carrier drive, there's a press conference tomorrow. Unfortunately, we'll be here, but City Hall, Duluth City Hall, they're doing a kickoff press release for the national food carriers. And then I know I spoke to Vicki Schneider last week regarding the food shelf and how they're going to pick up all this extra food. They are looking for a pickup truck and a couple people to help deliver items and run them back and forth. They're storing them downtown. So they're just looking for some help there. They may have found a pickup, but I know last week when I spoke to her, they were still looking. So if you want info on that, get a hold of me. I can let you know. But other than that, that's all I got. Oh, Counselor Benson.
On Saturday, it's also garage sale day, and I just want to caution the drivers that there'll be volunteers all picking up the food for the food shelf. And
Yep, thank you. Administrator Rich?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Attorney Hanka?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. That being said, looking for a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $314,000, $314,013.27. I'll make a motion to approve the bills. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Peterson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. adjourn.
Counselor DeWall made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.